accordance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act, Section 30-4-80E, South Carolina Code 1987, as amended, all the media in the immediate area have been notified of the date, time, location, and agenda of the meeting. We'll start with that prayer. Ms. Gore, would you lead us off in prayer?
Yes, sir. Now let's bow our heads, please. Dear merciful Father, we thank you, God, for this day. For this is the day, God, that you have made. God, we thank you, God, that we are gathered together one more time, and that we all came back from our vacation in health and good sound mind, and we're ready to go to work. God, help us to make wise decisions, God, and be with us, Lord God, as we protect our children, as we provide the best education that we know how, and God, help us to make decisions, God, that give honor to your name. And God, we pray in your mighty, matchless name. Amen.
Amen. Ms. Rita, would you lead us in our pledge?
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And motion passes. Do we have any citizens' comments? Two. Okay. Let's see what we got. And let me just read the guidelines for that. The first 30 minutes of the monthly meeting will be set aside for 3-minute input sessions for citizen participation. Participation will be approved on a first-come, first-talk basis as reported on the log which is provided. Public information should be in the form of suggestions, information, or comments pertaining to programs, schools, or the school district. Based on legal advice of our council, comments should not be made either complimentary or critical, naming any student, school employee, administrator, or board member, as these matters are personnel matters that require an executive session. Speakers' comments will be received only as board information. Ms. Abigail Stokes.
Hello. So, hey, my name is Abigail Stokes, and I'm a 2020 graduate of Hartsville High School. My platform is CAFE, Celiac Awareness for Everyone. I would like to give you some important information on celiac disease to bring awareness on how students with this disease are not getting equal rights in our school system. You see, I have celiac disease, which is an autoimmune disease in which your body attacks your small intestine's villi if you ingest gluten. When your villi is damaged, you cannot absorb the nutrients from food, which causes malnutrition. It also causes an autoimmune response in your body that can lead to many more serious health problems such as cancer, infertility, nervous system problems, diabetes, heart disease, and the list goes on. Gluten is a protein that is found in many grains such as wheat, so you are unable to eat any products that contain wheat, rye, or barley. Then the incident rate of celiac disease is steadily increasing. It currently is increasing at 7.5% each year. Over 15 years ago, when I was diagnosed with celiac disease, I understand there was no gluten-free options readily available. I had no pizza or bread or soups or Pop-Tarts or cookies. There were none available in Darlington County, so I know my parents were responsible for sending me a healthy lunch to school, or I had to eat a salad every day. Legislation is already in place that mandates schools feed students with allergies, diseases, and disabilities, but not an equal meal, just a meal. Therefore, I was offered a salad every day at school. As an elementary child, it was very emotionally disturbing to watch my peers eat their pizza, spaghetti, and cakes while I had nothing but a salad with a piece of fresh fruit. Then I was hungry and I was ill the rest of the school day. During high school, I played softball, and some days I didn't even get home till 9 o'clock at night. If we had a game, you cannot physically go that long with only a salad for lunch. You also cannot concentrate and learn during the school day when you're upset and hungry. I can now go to Jersey Mike's and order a sub. They have a designated gluten-free area to prepare my food. I can go to Olive Garden and get a pasta. I can go to Red Bull and order gluten-free sesame seed chicken, and to Domino's and get gluten-free pizza. As this list goes on and on, with that being said, there's no reason why our schools cannot have a designated gluten-free area and prepare our equal meals for our students with celiac disease. The options are now readily available. These students should not be singled out and left to feel different just because they have a disease and should not have to attend school hungry. I would like to see my hometown be the forerunners in making this change. I am working on proposing a bill to change or amend the current legislation on meal preparation for students with disabilities. Please join me in the fight in making everyone aware of this problem in our school systems and make the change. Thank you.
Thank you. Sharon Moore.
Hi, I'm Sharon Moore, speaking as a parent of Skylar Moore, who is a senior at Hartsville High School with concerns about homebound. I'm hoping you will review your policies specifically with seniors. Their situation is so different from other grades. I understand and have heard over and over about you only have 2 meetings a month, the 15th and the 30th of the month. Skylar got in an automobile accident on March 6th, being in the hospital for a week. I contacted the school. They told me the paperwork had to be completed by doctors and sent to them by the 15th. We went to the doctor's office. We brought it back onto the school on the 16th, which was too late. So they said there's no exception, and the next meeting would be March 30th. I called everyone, starting with Hartsville High School, to the superintendent's office. I would think you could set up a Zoom meeting with 5 members of a meeting, and it would only take a few minutes to deny or approve. We were approved on March 30th, and then we had to get the results to the school. After me calling everyone, they got it to the school on April 3rd. Homebound only started on April 10th. She was trying to do Schoology and all this, and she's only got 4 weeks. And it reads in the title of the regulation of homebound, section 3, item B. It states the school district must make up the instructional periods even if the regular school year is ended. But the problem is, it's not the same for a senior that is to graduate. They must have their grades in a week before graduation, which means she has only April 10th through May 19th to catch up all work and everything that has to be done prior. Homebound teachers are working hard to get this completed to get her to graduation. I just want to reemphasize that I think a senior deserves a special circumstance, especially when this happened in her last semester. They don't have the option of getting work completed after the school year has ended. Thank you for your time and consideration in this matter, and I hope this will process easier for any senior who faces this in the future.
That takes care of all of our citizens' comments. Adult education admissions. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? All right, our adult education is one. All right, next we'll move on to, oops, we skipped. I skipped. The next regular, excuse me, let me go back. Yeah, just a second. I'm in my board docs here, and I'm in board docs, and it's not, board docs are incorrect. All right. Okay, you got it.
It's okay.
It's got adult education admission is next.
No, you did it. You did it already. You did
Citizens'
it.
comments, then we go to adult ed.
And then minutes
Okay.
after that.
All right,
Yeah.
adult ed, so we have a motion on the board with Warren, second by Charles. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is approved. All right. All right, next we have honors, awards, and recognitions.
Minutes.
How is this?
It's minutes.
Where are we? Yeah.
I'm sorry. This is that's my old one. That's a fresh one.
That's why I'm
Sorry.
I'm like, it's not correct in board docs, you're handing me an incorrect one. I'm like,
Try that one.
try this one, let's go with this one. Okay, can we get approval of the minutes?
Please, let's approve the minutes.
Yeah, I make a motion. I move to accept the minutes of March the 13th and the special call meeting on the 22nd.
Okay, do we have a second?
Madam Chair, I'll second.
All right, all in favor? Opposed? All right, now we'll move on to honors, awards, and recognitions. Okay.
All right. And Madam Chair, I believe Mrs. King is going to talk to us about our excellent students.
All right, good afternoon. We have two academic awards that we'd like to present to you today. First one is for junior scholars. The South Carolina Junior Scholars Program recognizes 8th grade students with exceptional academic talent, and it provides additional and special learning opportunities during the summer with participating South Carolina colleges and universities along with the Governor's School. The special screening process includes identifying students who have exceptionally high scholastic, academic, and intellectual scores. There are two criteria, and they are used with looking at the PSAT results. The first criteria is scoring 550 or higher in the reading and writing section, or the student has to score at least 530 or higher in the math section. This year we have 8 8th graders in our district who have earned this recognition, and they are known as the 2023 South Carolina Junior Scholars. Students, when I call your name, we'd appreciate if you come up front. You're going to take a picture. You're also going to get an award, and parents, if you're here, we'd like for you to stand because you earned this recognition as well. We're going to start out with Darlington Middle School. We have 3 students from Darlington Middle School, where the principal is Mr. Eddie Schuler. Our first student, and Miss McClellan is here in his place. She's his assistant principal. Our first student is Hannah Logie. Our next student is Jerron Kirk.
Miss McClellan, come on up.
And our,
It's going to be okay. We're going to take pictures.
We're gonna get your picture.
Oh, okay.
Congratulations.
and our, is that Jerron? No? Okay. And our third student is Marley Parker. We're gonna get a group picture. Go ahead. Stay.
You hadn't had your picture taken so much since probably your birthday, so come on. We got you.
You're doing fantastic.
You're doing awesome.
You did great. Alphabetically, you just came first. You just paid them. Oh, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Got your hands full.
Thank you. Congratulations.
We're going to get your picture.
Hi, Trey. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We have 3 students from Hartsville Middle School, where Mr. Don Doggett is serving as principal. Our first student is Ella Smith. Our second student is Jalen Lewis. And our third student is Jasmine Reyes.
Congratulations.
Come on up, Chaz. Congratulations. All right.
This is what it's like with paparazzi. All right, look at me. Perfect.
That's the good attention.
Thank you. All right, and we have 3 students from Spalding Middle School, where principal is Ms. Nicole Jones. First student is Peyton Mendiola. And our second student is Tristan Collins.
Peyton's at baseball, softball game.
It's that time of year.
award is our Skills USA State Champions. Every year, students from across the state meet in Greenville to compete in the state championship in the areas of leadership, occupational, and skill-related competitions. Students have the opportunity to showcase their talents within a wide variety of events, including those associated with their chosen career cluster. We celebrate the work of 2 students from Hartsville High School along with their principals and advisors, and both students have earned first place in this year's competition. Principals are Mr. Corey Lewis and Mr. Robbie Smith. Our first student is Leighton Vouse in the area of job demonstration. And our second student is Jordan, and I think it's Ralph. Ralph, okay, thank you. In the area of electrical, construction, and wiring.
I still don't know this. ABC just let you know. I'll never do it. Never.
You can take as many as you want.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Congratulations to our students.
And those will be on the website, pictures will be on the website.
Maybe you want to tell them they can leave.
Yep. So at this moment, first of all, we're excited to see everybody tonight. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting your kids, our wonderful students, and the success that they've had. But it is okay if you decide to leave right now, because we've got the other part of the meeting that will take place, and we will not be bothered if you have other things to do tonight. So. Nice try.
Our next regular Darlington County Board of Education meeting is scheduled for May 8th at 6 o'clock here in the boardroom. So, with that. Let's see. Social workers and family school facilitators.
Yep. Chair Hassler, Mr. Johnson.
Good evening, board members. It gives me a great pleasure to talk about, every year we come in with our social workers and we talk about the data for the current year, and this year is no different. But first of all, I'd like to recognize those that are here. Please stand so the board can identify with you. First, we have the lead social worker, Andrea Campbell. We have Ms. Barbara Ford. We have Ms. Yolanda Graham. We have Kelly Gilbert. We have Pamela Sweeney Johnson and Alethea Woodard. Allison Butler, Mary Helen Garris, Felix Jordan, Laura Knox, and Gloria Brand. So we thank them for all the things they do for us. And we don't realize when principals need help, who to call on. And these ladies and one gentleman, you can always call on to help out, whether it gets clothes, whether it gets housing, to help in hotels. They go over and beyond, even on the weekends, to make sure our students get what they need. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Ms. Campbell to do the presentation.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to share with you what we do on a daily basis. I'm looking forward to being able to do that this evening. This is my first year in the lead social work position. I've been with the school district for 7 years, so it's a little different standing up here presenting to all of you. So we do appreciate the opportunity. I thank Mr. Johnson for already introducing everyone, so that was good. But you can see here's a list of our workers, the school social workers and the student community facilitators. And I divided these up into 2 slides because the student community facilitators and the school social workers fall under admin and operations for funding purposes. And then on our next slide is our family school facilitators, and they fall under Title I for funding purposes. And so we have 3 different titles, but our job description is very similar, almost exactly the same, and we all do just about the same thing in our schools. And that was more of information for some of this new school board members, so you would know. If you noticed on the first slide, I put We Rise under the title. And I did that because the theme for the National School Social Work Week for this year, which was back in March, was We Rise. And I loved it when I read the description. And it said that school social workers rise up, supporting their students, families, and school communities. School social workers rise to share hope, they rise to listen and understand, and they rise to challenge iniquities. They rise to support all students. And I thought that was a great summary. And it went on to say that they face challenges with strength and resilience, and they often are the voice for students and families. And I appreciated this part because if you look at any of us, we do not go around talking about our value. So I appreciate it when they said, but they do not always voice the value that they add to the school community. So I really appreciated the theme for this year. What exactly is a school social worker, student community facilitator, and family school facilitator in our schools? We devote our time to school-age children. We serve a unique role in our schools, and we often wear many hats. If you visit us at our schools, which I welcome you to come visit us anytime you want, you will see us wearing many hats. We advocate for parents and students. We provide McKinney-Vento services. We assist with attendance and truancy issues. We're sometimes student mediators, mentors. We facilitate resources for families, and we do some case management too. In our district, I like to say, if someone asks me what our role is, I sum it up by saying we are the bridge between home, school, and the community. And often when we are asked to get involved, that bridge is broken. So it's our job to try to fix that bridge, to make it easier for everyone that works in our school buildings, to make it easier for the families, and to make it easier for the children. We work to reduce or eliminate barriers to student attendance. We should have changed this. It's probably better to say assessments, not really screenings. We don't have formal assessments that we do, but when we are introduced to a student or a parent that needs us, then we do have to ask certain questions to make sure we understand the story so we can help them the best possible way. And we do provide transportation. We pretty much stopped that when COVID happened. We weren't providing transportation, but this year we are again, and we help with school-based meetings. We take medical appointments, vision and dental, but we like to say part of our job is to help parents learn to help themselves. So we ask that we're not the first point of contact for that, but if they absolutely cannot get to a school-based meeting, then we will help them. We also, we serve on the homebound committee for the district. We serve on the social emotional learning teams at our schools. Some of us serve on the district social emotional learning team. There is a local child welfare team that meets monthly. It's a multidisciplinary team, and they discuss cases with children that are having challenges at home or in the community, and we all collaborate with one another to try to come up with services that would best help them. We also attend the PJTC sessions that are new this year, and I've been very impressed with them when I go to those meetings. They're run very well, and they're very effective. We serve on the DSS Child Welfare Improvement Team, and this might not mean something to most people when you see pie theory, but that is a social work term, and it means person and environment, and that is really how we operate. We help students in their environment. because most of them have different home environments. Some of them are very different than what we're used to, but we meet them where they are in their environment. And we try not to do everything for them. We want them to have self-determination and resiliency and be able to help themselves. So we work really hard at that. And I do think that we must have empathy to be successful in our roles, and I think everyone here has lots of empathy. And that means you sit at the table with them. You don't like, oh, I'm sorry you're going through that. No, we sit at the table, we lean in, and we help them. And now the stuff that everyone likes to see. These are the types of services that we provide, and I do want to share for some of you that have been on the school board. In previous years, our data would be for a whole year, and it would be from some of the last year going into the new year. So we wanted to start fresh this year, and this is just starting on August 1st through this morning of the types of services and the numbers that we have provided. And I think it will give a very good, accurate picture, and plus we have some new members in our group this year too, so I think that's helpful. You probably don't want me to read this to you, but you can see family, student support, parent contact, staff consultation, advocacy, and home visit. And these are in the social work tab in Power School. There are more than these types of services, but these are the ones that we use the most. And also transportation. We help with attendance intervention plans. That varies by school, how involved we are. We do have school-based meetings, referrals, and you can see day 152 of school, which we are today, and we've had over 7,100 types of services. And then we do collaborate with other agencies. And one way we collaborate a lot is for our McKinney-Vento students. Ms. Pam Swinney-Johnson is our McKinney-Vento coordinator this year. We have 93 students who meet the federal definition of McKinney-Vento. That is homeless. That's what that essentially means. It is a different definition than the HUD definition. And the McKinney-Vento's federal definition says that if a student lacks a fixed, regular, or adequate nighttime residence, then they can qualify for McKinney-Vento services. So we have 93 of those students this year, and we have one of the highest number we've ever had living in motels. We have 40. Last year we had over 130 students, and I think we might have been at 28 students in a motel. I'm not sure why that's changed. We have 47 that were doubled up, 2 in campgrounds, and 4 unaccompanied youth. And the way we collaborate with other agencies, we provide clothes, school supplies, hygiene items. We've helped over 850 children with that, and that is a collaboration with the Darlington Kids Closet and Carolina Kids. For Christmas, we made sure over 400 children received Christmas. We collaborate with Carolina Kids, and we have 361 children who receive weekend food bags every Friday, and they're at 12 schools. The Hartsville Rotary Club provides us with gift cards, and we've been able to help 160 students with new shoes. And United Way, as they have been doing for many years, we are very blessed to have a partnership with them. They help us with beds, bed frames, and new bedding. And then, I don't know if you all, I guess I'll read some of these to you, because this was one of my favorite things I did for this presentation, because it's nice to share numbers with you all, but I thought, let's reach out to the principals and the teachers, and let's see the impact that we're having, what's behind those numbers, essentially. And so one, I didn't say the person's name who said it, or who the worker was, but I received a lot of great information. And one person, our worker, is a huge asset, always available to assist us with any situation, needs that arise on a day-to-day basis. Always professional, always willing to help in any way to support our students and families. And then we get this a lot. I would love our worker to be full-time at our school. Another one said, there is nothing that she won't do to help a child in need, while also helping their family as well as any of our school family. She is truly a gift that we marvel at every day. And I think this one at the top might be my favorite. One of our greatest assets is the calming force that works behind the scenes to build relationships with students and their families. Her mission is for the parties to trust her enough to accept her helping hand to lessen the effects of special physical, emotional, or economic problems that face them. To be a great school social worker, you must possess the exceptional characteristics she uses to perform her daily calling. The integrity to keep private matters private, which is so important in what we do, because families really trust us with some hard things. And the wisdom to move swiftly in situations that are placed in her care. And the other one's essentially kind of the same, but I love the top one. And then we did receive a statement from a mom. She said, "Thanks for everything you have done for me and my son. They say God brings people into your life for a reason or just a season, and I'm blessed to say it is a reason. I am so thankful God brought you my direction. We love you. My biggest support is you." And then the bottom one, do you want me to read the bottom one to you? It's from a student.
Yes, we would.
It's a high school student. "She has made a great impact on my family's home life. Her presence allowed me to feel like I had an ally in the school system. My family has never been in a financially gifted situation. She cared for not only my siblings, but she made sure my mom was good as well. I'm really thankful for her being a part of my life and showing me that there are people in the school system who do care for the actual well-being of students." I love those statements. And I'm gonna share them. I don't know if everyone knows who all those statements are, so I'll share them with you. And then some of our lovely group could not be here tonight, so I found a picture of all of us working at one of the community agencies. And then on the right was when we got to go to the school social work conference at the beach around Christmas time. So thank you for letting us go to that. And then if, I could go on and on about this forever, obviously, but here are some more resources that if you really want to delve into school social work roles and things that we can do and how we impact schools, these are great resources. There's the National Association for Social Workers, there's the School Social Work Association, and then we have the School Social Workers Association of South Carolina, and I just became on the board of directors last May. And I'm the first one from the Darlington County School District to ever serve on that. So it's been an exciting opportunity and a great learning experience. I think that's it. Thank you very much. Thank you, school board, once again for giving us the opportunity to be able to share a little bit about what we do. But I am being very serious. If you all ever want to come and visit us at our schools, spend a little bit of time with us, seeing what we're doing, please do that. And Dr. Newman, as always, thank you. Mr. Johnson, one of our biggest supporters, thank you. Ms. Casey Ruark, she puts up with a lot of stuff from us. And Dr. Jenkins, Ms. Samantha Gainey, and Hannah Teal, they help with the numbers for the presentation. And I also want to thank the parents, because they have to trust us to let us help their children. And sometimes that's a barrier that we have to overcome. They just don't trust us. But then we eventually build their trust. And of course, all the employees in our district, a lot of times if we didn't, if they didn't come to us, we wouldn't know a child needed help. So we appreciate them trusting us. And then, of course, all of the community organizations that we collaborate with. And that's it. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
Wow,
I know.
good, huh? Good.
That was the first time for questions.
On transportation, are you using district cars or are you using, okay.
Yes, sir, we are. When we are transporting a student or a parent, and we have a new rule that I appreciate, that Mr. Johnson has said he doesn't want us going by ourselves anymore, that we need to have either a staff member or someone else from our group going, especially if we have to transport a child by ourselves, or just one single child. We were running into a little bit of an issue with the cars, because I think when COVID happened, that other groups got used to using them. So there have been a couple times this year that they haven't been available, but we're working it out. But we do use district transportation.
How do you guys partner with the new mental health coordinator? Are you doing anything with her yet, or?
We are a little bit. They're including us in the process, because I didn't mention this, but most often, well, I shouldn't say most often, many times we are making referrals to PD mental health. So that has been a good partnership, and she has helped us when we have challenges. So I think as going forward, we'll continue to work with her even more. And I didn't mention this either, but a lot of times if we have a mental health crisis or situation at school, at one of our schools, then usually one of us is the one that goes to the hospital and waits for a family member to arrive or whatever. So we are a part of that process, and we appreciate that there is now a mental health coordinator in the district.
First of all, thank you, all of you, for what you do, and I, rarely do I, digress to talk about a family member, but my wife is a teacher in the district, and she has had to utilize so many services, and she is so grateful for the work that you all have done and the impact on the students. There's certain segments of our students that have more needs than others, and I will tell you that I've heard heroic story after another about how you all have stepped in to help in situations that nobody can imagine. And this is all nice and this is all pretty,
Right.
but you all see some really difficult situations that I'm personally aware of, and I can't thank you enough for what you do to help our families.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Newman, goals update.
Flip some papers here. Chair Hassler, member of the board, and members of our audience. This is the monthly update of the annual goals that we have for safety and security. We actually have 2 drills that we're conducting this week. One is a reunification drill where we stage an emergency at one of our schools and look at what that is like for law enforcement and for school district personnel, transport those students to a reunification site and try to mock play what that would look like for parents coming to pick up students. And so that takes place tomorrow. J.L. Kane Elementary School students will actually act as if there is an emergency and will board buses and travel over to Darlington Middle School. And there we will have some parents to help us, try to mimic some real life situations. And so that is that'll happen tomorrow. We have notified everybody as well. And also, thank you all. Have a good evening. I should have said the same thing I did with the students earlier and parents, but you all get the same nod there. But yes, with the reunification drill, we've already messaged to the parents that this is taking place several times, and then there was another message that went out today, because what we don't want to do is create any kind of panic. So this is, a drill. We've messaged that it's a drill, but it's also, you got to practice. You got to practice what we're going to do, because if you don't practice and you have an emergency situation, it could be a big issue. So we look forward to that. Also, the countywide Robinson Nuclear Plant tabletop drill is this week, and that's where we have county agencies across Darlington County, including the school district, will do a mock emergency drill for the Robinson Nuclear Power Plant. And so, again, that will encompass a lot of different agencies. We will mimic some things that could take place. For example, there's reunification potentially down in Florence is typically for the nuclear power plant emergency. But then there's also different scenarios that they won't tell us about until we actually face it on Thursday. So that tabletop drill will take place on Thursday of this week. And again, so we don't want to panic anybody. They've put a lot of PR out about this. As far as our mental health supports, again, you heard a little bit from our social workers, and as far as the collaboration that's taking place, we're continuing to talk with our local agencies and state agencies, explore opportunities, address needs in the buildings, try to find more personnel. Right now, we're working with PD Mental Health about more options, but then also looking at, for example, telehealth options and some other potential technology options to reinforce face-to-face what's going on with our mental health counselors in our buildings and with Dr. McCall and her group. Parental guardian involvement, the biggest thing to mention is that we have our Random Acts of Kindness Day this coming Saturday. And so, again, all of our schools across the district with our students and with a lot of their parents actually are involved with this, to where every school has submitted their plan for Saturday. I will definitely send that out to the board so you all have an idea of what's taking place where at the locations, and you all can certainly join any of the locations or all of them if you choose to that day around the county. But we're really excited. This is our second Random Act of Kindness Day. It was a great success last year. The weather looks like it's going to be excellent. I think we shooed away the rain clouds yesterday, so it looks like the weather's going to be excellent on Saturday. But just various items, for example, inviting first responders in and feeding them and celebrating them. Other folks are, doing car washes for the public and feed. Lots of food, by the way. I noticed that in most of the plans, that there's a lot of food involved. And so it's great to see how, again, we improve on last year, but more importantly, how we involve our students and what that looks like in acts of service and acts of giving and what that means to the people that you're doing it with. So very excited about that. And then, of course, with academic achievement, we are fastly approaching the SC Ready windows and the testing windows that we're about to get into. So the SC Ready window in SC Pass will start May 1st, and that goes through the 24th of May. And then the EOC windows are May 8th through the 24th. And then we actually do MAP with our K through second grade, and that window is also the 8th through the 21st. All of those are reported assessment scores through the state. And so, we're a week and a half away from all of that really kicking up. The last 4 weeks of the school year, which is pretty much the last month of the school year, is, held for the testing that we'll be doing. So we're looking forward to seeing the success of our students and the results of how well our teachers have worked with them. Our administrators have worked with our teachers. I think everybody is very focused on what's going to happen over the next month, and we're very encouraged to see what those results will look like as those are taken. And that's it for the monthly update.
Any questions? On the academic, do we have our spring MAP scores?
We do not. That window actually won't close until the end of this week, and then we'll start disaggregating that the following week. So that testing window is still open as well.
So what data do y'all have? Right, you have the fall, and then you have the winter data.
That's right. And then
And have we gotten a report on that winter data?
you did. Yeah,
On both on the.
Yes. That's
So when are we gonna get a report on this one?
that would probably be possibly the 8th meeting or the work session. So you're looking at least like the end of this week is when the window closes, and then there's a week at least to disaggregate and put that together. So
Do we have a feel for where we are?
I can tell you pockets. I've talked to some schools that have seen some very encouraging gains. The one thing to remember too with MAP, and we talked about this at the last time we had a discussion about MAP scores, is that it doesn't really take into account all of our populations like SC Ready does. So there's usually a variance in the SC Ready. It's a good indicator, but it also doesn't address some of those populations, for example, special needs, as SC Ready does, because we have SC Alt that we use for special needs instead of SC Ready. But all of those students are actually taking MAP. So there's a little bit of variance there. But yeah, there's some encouraging signs, but again, that window won't close, so we won't have all that information until the end of the week.
Anybody? All right, budget reports from federal fund report. Anybody have any questions about those? Anybody questions with that? Look. All right, and then I'll move on to policy items. Section J for second reading.
Madam Chairman, if there is not an objection, I would make a motion that we accept all of them at once, unless they want to pull one.
Anybody want pull any of them? Okay, so we'll take all of section J, which is, referencing to our student policies. Got a second?
Madam Chair, I'll second.
Do you have any discussion?
Nothing's changed since first reading, right?
Nothing's changed since first reading. No discussion? All in favor? Anybody opposed? All right, motion passes. Now, policy number GCLE, about our unencumbered time. Do we have a motion to accept?
Madam Chair, I'll make
This is
the
the
motion.
second reading.
I'll make the motion we accept for second reading.
Second by Mr. Govan. Do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Have you, sorry.
All right, go ahead.
I was gonna just ask Superintendent, have you had any additional questions or concerns since the last time we talked about this?
So we are, again, working through what is that going to look like. Each school, has been tasked with how that looks, because the staff looks different at a lot of the schools. But again, we're trying to address who's available, how will this look. I'm actually talking with my peers, other superintendents in the state as well, that are trying to come up with ways to address this. Bottom line is it's law. And so we know for next year in our, specifically in our elementary schools, we have to have a way of having every teacher with 30 minutes of unencumbered time. So no new challenges, just knowing that we've got to put some plans together over the next month or so to be able to nail that down before we get into next school year.
That's good.
Any other discussions?
It starts next school year?
Yes.
And are we gonna be coming out with any rules for that?
We certainly will look at that as we pin that down.
Okay.
For example, the policy's pretty general. I mean, it basically says you've got to provide 30
Right.
minutes. So, but yeah, if we need to add in something that is more specific for the school or the classroom itself, we can certainly come up with that. At this point in time, I don't see that, because I think if you address the 30 minutes, you don't really want to necessarily pin yourself down to how you're addressing the 30 minutes.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. That moves us on to our 2024-2025 district calendar. And there were two options out there. We have a motion to accept version B.
Is this the one that the teachers voted on or the staff voted on?
It is. So we did put a survey out. We had 73% of those chose B, with version B that we have. So out of, I think we had 860 total employees respond, and out of those 860, we had 73% of those chose version B, and of course, 27% chose version A.
It's only about 3 days difference anyway, right? We're
Yeah,
starting
like real
July
quick, what was,
25th.
Yeah.
what was the difference in the,
So we're going to start a couple days earlier with B. So we start on a Thursday instead of starting on a Monday. But it also allows that fall break and that winter break to be full weeks.
that's
'Cause you
right, that's what
remember,
it was, it was not
we had a
full
PD.
week.
That's right. We had a
Okay.
PD day in
Yeah.
each of those weeks before, even though we were starting later. So so we're starting a little bit earlier, and
But they get a full week
for
each
those
of their
breaks.
Okay.
That's right.
All right, we have a motion on the table to accept version B of the 2024-25. Understanding that we already have 23-24. This is 24-25, so because we're trying to keep a 2-year calendar for the parents.
Make a motion when you accept B, version B.
Motion, Mr. Jeffers, do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Kelly, any discussion? All in favor? Anybody opposed? Motion for version B carries. All right, Dr. Newman, superintendent update.
Madam Chair, members of the board, and our audience. Just a couple updates. We did have our final strategic plan full committee meeting that was held the Thursday before we went on spring break. Again, we are fastly approaching buttoning down that plan and what that will look like for the school district. Again, I keep reiterating, we want to come up with a one-page document that everybody will be able to refer back to what the 4 goals and the 4 areas of that we're focused on in the school district. So it doesn't matter if you're a custodian, a bus driver, a teacher, a superintendent, we all should be able to have this one document, this one-page document to refer to what we're after for the next 5 years. And of course, it's a 160-page document when we turn it into the State Department. And of course, our school renewal plans are based off of the district's strategic plan as well. But what we wanted to do is make sure to, number one, is it relative to who we are right now and what we're doing? And then number 2, is it easily relatable and understandable? Because we should be basing decisions, any type of decision we make in the school district should be based off that strategic plan. And does it, does it go back to the goals that we have established? Does it go back to the action steps that we had talked about at the last meeting? So again, and then there'll be metrics for each one of those to measure them. So whether it's academic achievement or whether it's parent engagement, whether it's student access to extracurricular, there'll be metrics to all of this. How many, how often, those types of things. And we'll be able to see, in 5 years, here's what we hope to see happen. And each year we'll have, a follow-up meeting. Are we on the path to doing that? Do we need to make any changes to it? But again, I think this is really the first time in probably 20 years that the district has really pulled in other people from outside to help us really focus on this and make sure that it's relative to who we are right now. But most importantly, it's focused on student success and our employees in our district. Those are the 2 main focuses. Everything revolves around that. So we look forward to reporting that back out as we pin it down. We have to turn that into the state by the end of this month. So we are on track for that. Art and business. It has been a few years since we've really had a chance to talk about art and business. And I remember my first year in the district, it's been, 5 years ago. I remember walking in and seeing this incredible program at Hartsville Middle School where they had rooms of artwork and students performing, and it was just a flurry of activity. And unfortunately, for a few years, we weren't able to do any of that. So it has come back now. It's a little bit of an abbreviated form, so we're actually celebrating the winners on Thursday at 6:30 at St. John's Auditorium. So we're celebrating the winners for each school for art and business, and so it'll be approximately an hour or so program that we have. But all of our schools and art teachers and their students who completed projects and were winners for their buildings, plus our district-wide winners will be announced as well and celebrated there. So the good news is we get to meet together. We don't have the big flurry of activity that we had in the past because, I think that's the next step down the road. But I'm looking forward to celebrating our students and the talent that they have definitely demonstrated. So board members, if you're able to come by at 6:30 at St. John's Auditorium, you'll get a chance. We'll make sure
What's
that
that date again?
Thursday is the 20th.
Question. Are these students going to be exhibited?
We'll actually show it on the screens for the program.
You will show the screen that.
Right, but we don't have it in one place to exhibit at this point in time. Now, typically, we bring that back to the district office if we do have those.
The school winners will be exhibited at their sponsoring business. And then the grand prize district winners will be featured at the district office as you walk in the door right at the left.
I get that, but my question is, I guess my real question is, when are we going to get back to exhibiting our children's artwork?
We hope to next year be able to bring the whole program back.
Because I think, personally for the arts, I think that's something the kids and parents appreciate.
Yeah, I would agree.
That's why I asked that.
Oh, I agree, yeah, I would agree. And like I said, going 2 years of having nothing, unfortunately,
Yeah.
so I think this is a step towards, celebrations, and then how do we do this the year after to make sure that we are able to enjoy the students at that time? Because it's basically, an evening where everything is being presented and displayed.
And truthfully, that's really why we initially did it.
Yep. Next, of course, we have our Support Employee of the Year breakfast on Tuesday of next week, the 25th, at 9 o'clock. Support Employee of the Year breakfast next Tuesday, the 25th, at 9 o'clock. And then Teacher of the Year luncheon next Wednesday, the 26th, at noon. And so, again, celebrating our Support Employee of the Year and our Teachers of the Year, and getting a chance to personally thank them and congratulate them as well for this year. And so, again, board members, if you're able to make either or both, you're absolutely welcome. We certainly love to have you all there. So. And then another item we actually have Florence Darlington Technical College Thursday. There's another event Thursday. We're getting into the event season. And that's where they're celebrating the early college students that we have. So they will be celebrated on Thursday at SIMT at 6 o'clock on Thursday. We also have, excuse me, kicked off another technology sale where we are selling old technology. This is old iPads and a few old MacBooks that we have. And so that we've already messaged that out district-wide. Been very successful the past several ones that we've done. And we'll have employees that are able to access first on Monday, and then it'll open up to the public on Tuesday, the day after that. So
That's next Monday.
Yep, next Monday for employees, and next Tuesday for the general public. And that is everything that I have for the super. Well, let me. We are still working through budgets, as we have discussed, and so we are getting right now. And Ms. Douglas, you may have to help me a little bit with this conversation, but it's out of the House and it's in the Senate, and so there have been a few minor modifications between House and Senate, but we are still waiting what the Senate's version is going to be. And once the Senate comes out with their version, then there'll be a joint committee that will be the first week of May that they'll meet, and they'll hopefully come to a conclusion of what happens. Second through the fourth?
The Senate starts their deliberations tomorrow. So right now, all the projections we've been using the House version. It's not quite as up and down as it was last year, because last year we didn't know what they were doing, but we've got the projections for the new funding model. We've got the Revenue and Fiscal Affairs has sent us the information about the Consumer Price Index is 8%. That would increase our millage. Of course, that's not owner occupied, but just like last year, the Consumer Price Index was 4.6%. This year it's 8%. I mean, it's basically following.
Yep, so it's cost of living,
Cost
basically,
of living.
that you're looking at.
That would increase our millage by 15.3 mills, which would generate about close to $4 million in revenue. So right now, my crew has been working on budget projections based on, just different scenarios. So we've looked at our teacher scale. Right now, the House version still says that they're going to increase each of the cells in the minimum salary scale by $2,500. We're still above that. We would still be $500 above the minimum scale without doing anything. We won't see any of that funding, just like last year, because we are already above. There's, I think, 13 districts in the state that are below or at the minimum scale, so those would get that funding. So, the millage increase, the slight increase in the new funding model that we've seen with the new numbers that they've sent out, we would be able to
fund.
we calculated $1,000 increments, $1,500 increments, and $2,000 increments. If we did a $2,000 increment, we would be at 45, where the state would be at 42.5 for a starting teacher salary. That's the numbers I've just had my crew doing different scenarios, so, and we also looked at last year, all other staff, we did a 4% increase plus a step, so most people got between 5 and 6% increase. I've done a 2% and a 4% calculation. Till the Senate comes out with their version and we see if they agree, we're still working on all of the other, we've got the 135 day count, so we're recalculating all the supply monies, all that comes from the student count. So we just keep calculating, but kind of need to know.
Well, I think what's most important to know is that we're not getting additional money to give teacher raises. Where at one time we thought early on in the process, it looked like that might be a possibility. They came back and said, no, they're not doing that. So if you pay above the minimum, you'll get no extra funding. And so, I think one of the good advantages for the Darlington County School District is our teachers have been able, to benefit from the board's decisions to be very competitive from a teacher salary standpoint. And I'm hoping we can maintain that.
But that's, again, so we're actually penalized for being above is what we originally had thought, and we thought that, no, they're gonna come out and.
Yep, and rectify it.
So we're penalized because we paid ahead and above, and now they're gonna move everybody else up, and we're gonna be eating
They
everybody.
pay and move everybody.
Good point.
Let's make sure we clarify that.
So, and again, I don't quite understand that.
I agree.
I really don't.
I agree. And
Bad mediocre, and when you try to put your money where you think the focus should be, which is the classroom, then you're penalized for it.
That's right.
Charles?
Maybe I missed it, but what happened to Act 388?
Act 388 just took the tax off of owner-occupied houses. That's still in effect.
So it's
We've
the act is still
We've
there?
been getting the same amount of money since 2008, because one of the SLT members asked that question this morning. I looked it up. We've been getting the same $3.7 million and 86 cents, the exact same amount since 2008. That was supposed to supplement schools for taking the school tax off of owner-occupied homes. Now, owner-occupied homes are taxed for our debt service millage, which is small. That's the smaller amount, and we're not raising the debt service millage. Our millage would only affect businesses and vehicles,
Not owner-occupied.
personal property.
Yeah, not owner, that's correct. And to your point too, that if you think about it, the Act 388 money should increase every year, right?
Right.
It's maintained the same exact amount for 15 years. So, the whole goal of 388 was we're going to offset whatever you would have lost every year by this pot, and this pot is supposed to grow. Well, they never grew it, and so
Imagine that.
yeah. So
What'd you say, Ken?
Imagine that.
yeah, so what we're left with, the only option we have is to do cost of living increases every year, which is exactly what businesses are doing right now, right? So we were talking about this earlier in our meeting that, restaurant, if the price of hamburger meat has gone up, 50%, they're not charging $5 for a hamburger anymore. They're charging $7.50. I mean, go to the grocery store, right? So that's the cost of living piece. Businesses address it by raising their prices. The only way nonprofits can address it is any available cost of living monies that are out there. And so,
Well, my only comment with that, my concern to that is, Wednesday coming, you got a day after Capitol for your school board. And I think that's an opportune time for board members to address that issue with your legislators. And now, if it's already out of the House,
It is.
then I think that's the issue you need to have with senators. And because it could force them into a, what do they call it, compromise, if you will, with the House and the Senate coming up before they actually pass it to be legislature. And I think one of the things that we miss out on is the fact that we do not address the issue to our legislators. And I'm not just talking about Darlington County, I'm talking about this whole state. And if that's a concern, then I think people have the need to address it.
Another comment I want to make real quick too is the ADM, the 135 ADM, last year we lost about 120 kids from the 45 day to the 135th day last year. We lost about 120. This year we lost 6. So,
Well, we couldn't have lost a whole lot that we've already lost.
But 6 is better than 120.
I understand
So,
that we have dropped so much.
But Jamie, what you have to understand, I think what he's saying is,
I know what he's
We're
saying.
stabilizing.
I know
that
exactly what he's
plus
saying.
the fact your money is based on your,
Right.
ADM,
attendance.
150. That's right.
Yeah.
And so, the state went back and forth, remember we got penalized some money too, because the ADM from last year's 135th changed to the 45th. So there's so many different things that are going on, but I would say the biggest point that I would want the board to hear at this point in time is that the state is not going to give us any more money to give our employees raises. And so, the only place that could potentially come from is the cost of living that we're allowed to increase, which is, been in place every year. And we've talked about this in the past. If you don't do it one year, you don't get the opportunity, you lose it that year. So we're staying focused. We're getting numbers together on what it looks like for the teacher salaries. What would 1,000 increase look like? What would a 1,500 look like? What would a 2,000? What would a $2,500 look like? As Ms. Douglas referred to, we're also looking at our support staff and classified, and what would a 2%, what would a 4% look like? We'll have those numbers pinned down for the board when we get a chance to talk, but more importantly, after the Senate comes out and says, this is the money that you have. So I wanted to make sure that we gave the board an update at least on where we are in the process. We were talking about the budget calendar earlier as well. We have a first reading that's coming up in the May regular board meeting, and so a lot's going to get pinned down between then. That week before the meeting is hopefully when the joint committee comes out and says, here's what you've got.
They won't actually vote on it or send it to the governor until after the board meeting, but normally we know what they're gonna do, so hopefully by the time you get a report that Friday before the board meeting, we hope to have the first draft of the budget in there. So if there's any questions before then, let Dr. Neiman know.
Yeah, and still addressing the priorities that you all have talked about,
Yeah.
that we had a couple of meetings ago. Those are still out there as far as priorities that the board said, hey, we'd like to look at this. You heard from me about priorities that, language at the middle schools, and GT for, the elementary schools. All that's still out there. And again, when we get that total amount of money, we can look at that. But, I also don't want to get away from, staying ahead of the game if at all possible for our teacher pay and what Darlington County has been able to do over the past few years, staying very competitive around us.
So you, just from my understanding, so you'll send out your report before our next board meeting. Will you present to us about what's in that? Or do we?
I'll answer any questions you have.
Or you'll just answer questions?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
So I think
How does
that
that usually
the
work?
template, we usually will send out the template that
Yeah.
we typically will send out. So the board will get something in advance with what we think the projections are for that 8th meeting, So before then, you'll get an actual template with all the information.
And is
then-
that the one also, I mean, because in the past, you've always highlighted where there's been a change.
Yes,
So that's
same
like,
scenario.
Yeah, I was just thinking, if you give it to me on Friday and we meet on Monday, and I'm
Right.
new, I'm like, this is gonna
Right.
be a long weekend.
it's
to
usually
try to figure out what that
highlighted,
means.
it's highlighted if there's a change in a line item.
I'd like to understand it by the time I
The
come to the meeting.
supplements and allocations manual, we pulled it out of the budget, but it is how we calculate some of the budget, and we'll get that draft to you sooner than that. My ladies got the 135-day count when they got back from spring break today. So they're working on that, and we can send out a draft, and that's what Ms. Hassler's referring to, if there's any changes. We don't have a whole lot of proposed changes in there right now from our meetings, but we'll send that out. And then the budget document is not quite as daunting as some, so it's laid out pretty.
You'll see prior
Okay.
years and what we're projecting for the current year. And, it'll show, different highlights as far as, revenues that we received differently this year. You'll be able to see all
And
that.
then June's when it has to be finalized.
Yeah, the
It
June,
has to be passed by June 30th. Right now, we've got it on the schedule for the regular board meeting. We have to have public hearings. If something happens and the legislators, like last year, they didn't give us any numbers until June 15th last year. We had a special call meeting before June. We actually had it on June 30th, I think. So we delayed it, but hopefully we'll have everything. They'll have all their numbers, and we can go ahead and have it done at the regular June board meeting. We'll have to go through all that.
so you'll have a whole nother month, right?
Right.
So we'll
Yeah,
get that
yeah.
projection
First
first.
reading has to have two readings.
Yep.
Yeah, and we do the first reading, and then we'll have a whole month to be able to kind of dig through it and
Yeah,
ask
We'll talk about
questions.
it and all that
It's
kind of
hard to
stuff.
put it together any sooner than that,
Yep.
because
No, I'm not trying to rush you. I just
no,
try to
I'm just
understand the
saying
timeline.
their meeting, anything else, it'll be the crystal ball. It's just, what do I think they're gonna do? So we usually get pretty good. We get updates every week from the representation that the school board has that are at these meetings, listening to the legislators debate. So they've been doing it a long time, so they can kind of tell which way they're leaning. And that's very helpful, so.
All right, any other questions? I'm moving on to board member input. Mr. Govan, you want to lead us off tonight?
One thing I would say is I hope all you enjoyed your break. I'm sure it was well deserved, and I'm sure that I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you're ready to hit the road as our final lap, if you will, for this school year.
Mr. Jeffers?
A couple things. Mr. Johnson, how are we on landscaping for those schools?
We have contacted several companies, now waiting on dollar figures to come back to see if we can work within, staying under the, what's the word? Under the $25,000 in order to get it done without putting out an official bid. But we've contacted several landscape companies just to give us quotes on all three schools.
So, for all three schools, has to be under the 25, is that right?
You don't have to do an official bid.
So, why don't you just break it down for each one?
Renee would like to hear that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
She didn't have to, she went back.
So what if
I
we
was
had a
paying,
guy,
I heard everything you said.
Again,
They're kind of ahead of us on the.
what if I had a guy, Lamar, a landscaper there, that could do it for $5,000? I mean, you have to put a bid, how do you do
that's my
that?
point, instead of grouping it as one, group it as individuals, you stay below and you have a lot more control.
That's against procurement
Yeah,
laws.
That's
There's
against it.
there's a law against that. First thing the auditor looks at.
If they see like and like, they're gonna say, you just kind of skirted the procurement rules to do that, unfortunately.
I'm just gonna be, I don't know how you're gonna get three schools under $2,500. $25,000.
And you might not, but you're gonna have to put out for official bid if you don't get that amount.
Okay, maybe we'll get by next year. Okay, I was down at the Lamar track the other day, I was running and walking, whatever on it. The surface there, for the most part, is pretty good. There's some areas there, that the rubberized part, you can see the concrete.
Correct.
Is there any way to do just certain areas of that track without doing the entire track?
No, we're gonna have to do the entire track. We had a contractor come out and look at it. We're gonna have to replace that track just as we did Darlington High. We won't have to do an extensive job as we did Darlington High, but the surface level we're gonna have to replace. And we're already in the process of working on that. That's already in the work.
As a game? Okay, while you're out there, that practice field there, it needs cutting, it needs, the weeds are taking over. I mean, we spent a lot of money when we built that field to put that type of turf there, and we're just not maintaining it.
On the practice football field?
Yeah, practice football field. I mean, if we're gonna build things, we need to maintain them.
Okay.
And one other thing, retention ponds, they're almost in the need of being cut again. We have a machine to do that.
We do.
Okay. And vacancies, how we coming there? I don't want to leave you out.
That's an interesting number right now. So we still have the 14 that we brought into contract time that we were unable to fill this year. But contracts are out now, and we're aware of another 26 that we'll need to fill if school started tomorrow for next year. So that brings us to an even 40 right now. That number ebbs and flows every day. It'll be a little different tomorrow, but it'll trend in the right direction. So 40.
40?
That's where we are right now.
Correct me if I'm wrong, we, for contracts for next year, we have about 75% that have already been returned.
That's correct.
Is that right? We got about 25% that are still outstanding, but we have until May 10th for that 25% to come back in to us. But already we have 75% that have been
So
returned.
you have a better handle next.
Right, and that's, what he's mentioning now is a good indicator. That's far better than where we were this time last year. We were at 69 at the same time last year, so
Okay.
it's looking good.
I guess I'm up. First, I want to thank the social workers. I know a couple of you guys are still in the back. Thank you for coming and sharing with what you do with us. And mostly thank you for what you do. I mean, I was in tears reading what your quotes. I'm glad you provided those. I know you were holding back too. I know you guys have a difficult job, and I appreciate you and appreciate all that you do for our community and for our students and our families. Secondly, we're going into testing season. I just want to say to all the students and all the teachers and administrators, I see you. I know you've been working hard all year. Please don't let yourself be defined by a test. You guys are awesome. You're working hard. It's an important measure, but it is not the measure of our success. And I don't want too much anxiety out there with our students and our teachers over that kind of stuff. I see you, I see how hard you're working. I'm here to support you. So I think that's all I have today.
Warren, can we come run on y'all's track? We don't get your track?
We're trying to get you one.
And if we could just run on it, we'd appreciate, just practice on it maybe. Now,
Bust down there.
yeah, just a question, back on that, the monies. The reasoning for, they were off, they were on, they were off, and they finally said no, so was there a reason, did we ever understand why, what the justification was for not, for penalizing basically? Was it because there's so few schools that have done that, so they figured, well, the bulk will be pacified if we do this, if we don't need to?
So the majority of the districts are above it.
Yeah, you said 13.
Yeah, there's only 13.
13 that are under.
There's very few districts that aren't at the minimum.
So they figured
already.
it's a cheap way out.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it looks good
So
for
if I
a
did the
few.
13, if I took 13 out and all the balance of the 48, then, so it's a cost thing. So they really aren't doing anything, what amounts to. I mean, publicly, I hope they understand that and hear that from the board members, a board member anyway.
That's right.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's way to reward you people for working, for doing what they need to
Well,
do.
and Jamie, to your point, let me give you an example. You know, they changed the funding formula where you basically pay for student-teacher ratio, right? And so they say we're gonna, for every teacher, you're gonna have 11.2 students. So you get a teacher for every 11.2 students. And we're gonna, here is the average salary that we're gonna pay you for that, right? So here's the salary, and here's the ratio, which spits out a number. Well, you would think if they're gonna increase that teacher's salary scale $2,500, they would increase that average number, which they're using for the funding formula.
No. So it just, and I know y'all have your group, and I'm sure y'all convey this to them all the time. I mean, it's just not right, it's simple math. I mean, I don't understand the logic behind it. I don't know who's calculating this for them. Why they don't listen to the people that deal with it every day and you give them solutions. That's troubling, it really is, at another level.
It is.
The funding formula is a mystery to all of us.
Yep.
And I have peers who have spoken in front of the legislators as it is.
Talented people, I mean
Absolutely.
knowledgeable people.
Yeah, very knowledgeable.
And is it just over their head and they say the easy route, let someone else take it?
It's
Well, there's some
It's-
PR
it's
in
slightly-
saying, and we have raised the
It's slightly
minimum teacher
political.
salary. I mean,
That's sad to
that's
use
the PR on it.
PR for children and the
But
status
in
where South
reality,
Carolina
it's only for
is
13
right now.
districts.
That's sad, that's sad. And they're in there for the wrong reason. I don't have any more comment, that's frustrating.
All right, Ms. Gore, he's hush. You up.
I don't know, got me today, I'm not feeling well today, but I just want to say that, when I attended the, Lamar Career Day, it was a very nice day. A lot of colleges were there, universities, and, a lot of HBCU schools were there. University of South Carolina was there, and they had private individuals, entrepreneurs that were there that was showing young people about how to start a business and what it would take to open certain types of businesses. So the principal of that Lamar High, it was a great job, and I want to thank his school and the students that were there helping. They did a fantastic job, and I think all of you all are doing a fantastic job. And right now today, I just can't say what I need to say because my head is hurting a little bit. My head is bad.
I'm sorry.
Yes, yes. So all of y'all do great jobs. I thank you all what y'all do for the Darlington County School District. And my word for today is keep moving. Keep moving. No matter what it looks like, keep moving and continue to do a great job that all of you all do and what you all contribute to this district. And thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Gore. Mr. Reed.
Well, first and foremost, welcome back everybody from, good spring break. It's glad to have, all the students back. Friday before spring break, I ventured out and visited a couple schools. Did Easter egg hunt over at Pate with 5K. That was very interesting, to say the least. Ventured over to Dr. Bridges' school here at Kane. Pleasure as always. And one thing I did pick up, over at Kane, they're ramping up for boot camp this week, Dr. Bridges. There was quite a few teachers and everybody already decorating the school, getting everybody ready for studying, prepping for tests. And another thing I noticed at both schools, and I've noticed this at other schools as well, a few of our first year teachers that are coming in from other districts, the way they're bragging about leadership and the way they're made to feel at home. That's great. I want to brag on our principals about that. So, that's it.
Ms. Keller.
My head hurts too.
Well, I only have one thing to add, and that's the second what Jamie said. We may have patches in Lamar, or we fixed the Darling track. We can't
Why are you
even
bringing me
have
into this?
home.
Why are you bringing me in this conversation?
I'm just saying what you're trying to. I'm just saying this. We don't have a track. We cannot have home meets. Period.
We have with our tracks.
Oh, you can't practice.
We can.
Y'all come practice in Darlington?
We do not even
We
have
run the
a
dog,
track.
fly practice, and run back.
We cannot have home meets.
Y'all find a place to put it, we'll put it there.
just putting it out there. I mean, that's the situation we're in. So, that needs some resolution.
I agree.
What I'm saying about a patch. We can't even have we don't even have a home meeting.
Sounds like a work session.
I knew that was
to
gonna be
me.
trouble when supervisors were talking about it. I was like, oh, here we go. About to transfer, here we go. Here we go.
See what that small patch turned into?
Here we go.
Jeffries.
Mark, you thought it was just a small patch. It was a hornet's nest.
Patch.
It was a hornet's nest.
I remember
Oh,
that.
no, thank you. Congratulations to all our award winners, staff, teachers, as Mr. Gomez said, we're on the home stretch. I know y'all all can feel it. Thank you for everything that you've done this year, and we appreciate you. We'll move on to personnel actions. Do I have a motion to accept the personnel actions and with the addendum?
I move that you accept the personnel action along with the addendum.
Have a second, Mr. Reed. Have any discussion? Are we kind of good with what our internationals, and is that kind of, some had to leave, but we've swapped in some.
That's actually part of why we're a little bit better now, because other districts are in the same kind of boat that we are, so
Okay.
yes, ma'am, it's been helpful.
Any other discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? All right, motion passes. Moving us on to an executive session. Get a motion to move into executive session.
Madam Chair, make the motion, we move into executive session for personnel matters, recommendations, terminations, hires and or transfers, and contractual matters.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Goodman, a second. All in favor? Opposed? All right, that's it. Session, a motion was made by Mr. Govan, it was seconded by Ms. Kelly. Do we have any motions coming out of executive session?
Madam Chairman, I'd make a motion that we accept the recommendation, administration's recommendation for the naming of the new principal at Hartsfield Middle School for the 23-24 school year.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm opposed. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second.
In favor?
Aye.